Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Anybody? Okay, great. Well, basically what I had spent... Now you can hear my dogs. What I spent the last couple minutes explaining was what Reactor is. And it's basically a membership program with ClickTeam, which enables supporters to gain access to a ton of extra stuff, product giveaways, exclusive streams, patron-only content, open source files like what we're going to work on today. Of course, you saw in the trailer our free monthly items in partnership with select ClickStore authors, which is kind of cool, and a bunch of other stuff. So visit patreon.com/ClickTeam and please sign up if that's something of interest. So great. So today, as we promised on the Patreon page, we were going to work on a role-playing game. One of the users requested it, and I had already started one when doing a stream for GGDA. So I thought it'd be pretty cool if we continued it. So I guess the first thing I need to do is get you up to speed with what we've already made. So we're going to go ahead and run our application, which the people in the previous stream called Hazors. I don't know who came up with that. Maybe it was Null. I don't know. But anyways, let's run it and see what happens. So we've got our generic title. And then we got our battle engine. And as you can see here, we have an active timer for battle. I just got enough energy to attack, so I attack him. And I'm going to attack again. Of course, I'm running out of health, so hopefully I can make it to heal. So I've healed. We'll probably need a heal sound today for that. Attack again. And that's pretty much the engine. We're about to die, and I'm dead. Yours is death. So, what drives all that? It's not a whole lot of events, believe it or not. All that's a simple 19 events, and we'll go over it real quick. At the start of the frame, we're setting the level, which is this string up here letting us know what level we're on, which we'll probably get rid of. Because in the demo we did before, it was simply recycling the level. You beat the guy got a little stronger, and you reset the frame. So that's what's happening there. And then we, as you can see here, based on the max health, we're adding the level, which starts at level 1, and then multiplying the health and the current health as we move on. Bonus health and max health is another value that's global that we put here, which we'll show you later. This line 2, of course, we're just setting the health and max health information, as well as for the monster, which can be found here and here. And then line 3 is where we get hit. So every 1 minute and actually I think it's 1 second. Yeah, 1 second. And one chance out of 3, we subtract a value of 1 plus random attack strength, which is stored in the monster right here. And then we change our animation sequence to 12, which is our little red shake that we're hurting. Our ATB, our active time battle meter, is right here. So every 5 out of 1,000ths of a second, we add 1 to the counter. And of course, if the counter equals 100 or a full counter, we then enable the attack buttons. We disable them if they're not available. Now we also have the ADS2, which is our special attack, which was this button here. So I thought today we'd maybe try to do random battles. So in a traditional RPG, you of course have walking around and run into random monsters. So we're going to do that by creating a new frame. We're going to drop it over here, and we're going to say dungeon map. And then we're going to go in here, and we're going to give it a basic color. Maybe we'll make a grass gradient. Sorry, motif. We edit the motif. Get rid of this. And using the same color scheme, we go with a really loud green. Then we're going to mark it up with a bunch of little grass lines to make a really horrible, cheesy grass. Do little things here that make it look like it's looping around. And then we go there. Now we've got our grass. Isn't it great grass? We'll have to get Windy Beard on here to do some of the art. He's such a talented artist. And there we go. And then maybe we add some trees. We'll grab, well, we could do a background object and make it collidable. Maybe we go with this kind of tree. Get a darker green, dump it in there, probably too dark. Give it a sensation of some a little bigger. And we'll go with one more layer. Got my colors all wrong. There we go. And of course this one's probably too dark. So we'll go ahead and change that up a little bit. Whoop. There we go. There's our garbage tree. Probably too small for my taste, so we'll just grow it up a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and make our little barriers. Now one thing we've noticed, of course, is it's a very small screen space. So for those of you not familiar with Fusion, I'm going to increase the size of the frame. And when I do that, it increases the length here of our play space. For those of you not familiar with Fusion, play space is this entire white area. And this dotted outline here represents the resolution of the app, or how we look into the app. Of course, we're going to need more backgrounds. And another way we could do it is we could create a quick backdrop by doing this. And then we can simply place that there and drag it out. Just like that. All right. We can do the same thing again for horizontal. And drag that out. Ooh. One thing we should probably do is label everything. It's no good if you have 7,000 objects and you have no idea what is what. So after I resize our grass, we'll go through and label some things. Grass, appropriate label. Single trees. Vertical border trees. And horizontal border trees. Spelled correctly. So take some of these single trees, we'll drop them down here. We'll have to spread those out in a minute. And then we grab our other horizontal border, we'll put it here. Wonderful. Stretch it out some more. Grab another vertical. All right. Now we need our hero. So we'll grab an active object. And we'll go ahead and leave him this size. Let's get some more of that classy art. If I remember correctly, he was wearing kind of a hat. So let's do that. Let's give our friend here a bit of a hat. Pretty garbage hat, but you know, he's a cheesy guy. Notice it's not totally uniform, so we could, to increase the uniformity, cut it in half, copy it, and then of course, don't know if I like the fact that I got rid of the outline, so we'll fix the outline. Good old undo button. And then we'll give him some garbagey arms. He's looking pretty bad, isn't he? It's perfect. Perfectly horrible. It's exactly what we want. Then we'll make a horrible walking animation. Let's see how horrible that looks. Pretty bad. Maybe if we get rid of this frame, slow it down a little bit. And then for the purpose of this game, we're just going to give him simple 8 directions. And we're probably going to limit his directions to 4 for a massive cheese effect. Give him a test. There we go, he's walking. Of course, he's running through objects. We can't have that. So we fix that by first making sure that all the objects are collisionable. Obstacle, obstacle, and finally obstacle. Wonderful. And then we go ahead and we say if our friend is colliding with a backdrop, then of course we want him to stop. And now he should stop. There you go. Wonderful. Now we got to make him rotate. Not that hard. We're going to throw in an always event. We're going to say set the angle. We're going to grab the direction. And we're going to multiply that by 11.25 because we're converting a 32 direction into 360 direction. Who needs maximal quality? We'll go with minimum quality. And now he's walking around like your hero would. And here's the problem. I can walk right off screen. That's no good. So what we need is also on the always line, we need to center the scrollings. So we go to the storyboard object and we select our hero to center on. So that's right here. Storyboard object, center display, which you find in here. Nope, sorry. It's under scrollings here. And should I have done it right, I now have us walking around. It's walking a bit too fast for my tastes. So let's go ahead and slow him down. too slow. So we'll go 25. There we go. All right. Now we got to do random battles, which isn't that hard. We should probably start with a global counter. Doesn't have to be global counter. I think what we'll do is what I like to do is I like to grab an active object. I'll typically go in here and just so I can identify it easily in the event editor, I'll color it like this, which indicates to me that this is my local value storage. Local value storage. We'll put that off screen. And then I'm going to declare the first variable. I want to say time to next battle. So the idea is at the beginning of this frame, we'll set this to a value with a base number so that we don't end up having battles right after each other, plus a random. So we go here, comments, just so I don't forget what we're doing, collision with trees. Very important to comment your code. Set direction of hero and center on screen. And then our new event, which will be start a frame. Set next battle timer. Wonderful. So, what are we going to do? Well, it's something we'll probably have to experiment with, but let's just, for giggles, you guys like giggles, right? We'll say 100 and random 50. Probably have to change it, but let's give it a shot. So, deduct from timer. Always subtract from timer to next battle 1. Start battle. And of course, if you've been following along, you know that if this value is lower or equal to 0, that would engage the next battle. We would jump frames and go to our battle engine. So there we go. So the only thing we have to do left is take our title engine, and instead of jumping to the battle, we jump to the dungeon map. So let's run it. What a wonderful title. Thank you, Trydan. That's great. So here we are, walking around. Oh, battle happened real quick. That's probably too quick. So we need to go back in here and adjust our variables. So let's make it 500 and random 100, or even 200. And let's see how that works. Woohoo! So at this point we'll be looking for stuff, maybe the exit, maybe the boss battle, maybe a key for a door. And now we're into a battle. I feel like we need to somehow let us know that we're getting into a battle. So how are we going to do that? One way we could do it is maybe by zooming the screen. So what we could do is we could say, instead of immediately jumping to the frame of the battle, which will deactivate that code, we'll take that event, we'll use it to turn a flag on. If that flag is on, that's true. We're going to have to do that. We're going to have to. Nopi here is pointing out that we'll need to load the position of the player object back. He's absolutely correct. So we'll do that next. Very good point. If flag 0 is on, then what we'll do is we will grab the, I think it's the layer object that allows us to zoom in. Could be wrong. my name. Scrolling. No. Well, that didn't seem to work. Anybody know where we can zoom in? Yeah, I probably have to get a shader, it looks like. So, we'll shelve that for the couple seconds. And let's do what Nopi here suggested. So, I'm going to go ahead and put a global string in here. I'm going to call that string data transfer. And here I'm going to set that global string data transfer to position X. And as you can see, it won't work because it's a value and a text, so I do this. Then I'm going to add a delimiter. Everyone seems to like pipe, so we'll use that. And then we put the next one in. Same problem. And there we go. Now I have the data stored. And I'll put it in front of there just for good measure. It will execute it before jumping the frame, but it's just good practice to have things organized correctly, and I should be setting the data before I jump. So why would we do that? Well, now that we've stored the data location, when the battle's over, we'll come back here, we can load that information. And we can do that simply by saying here, a new events, compare string, is data transfer different than null? If it is, then we're going to load the data, but we'll need the string parser to do so. And we can find the string parser right down here. It's one of my favorite objects. Here, put that there, and then we go in here and we say set our delimiter, which we determined earlier was the pipe, and we'll just say it's value 0, 0 slot. Then we set the source string to data transfer. There you go. And then I can take the position, set the X position to the first element, and we'll have to convert it back into a value. And then for the Y position, same thing, but the second value. So we end up with something that looks an awful lot like 100 pipe 200, this being the first element, this being the second element, with only one delimiter. For those of you that haven't string parsed it very much. Now, on this line, you can see that I'm setting, and the condition is data transfer equals nothing. The data transfer will continue to run because I haven't stopped the condition. So the best way to do that on this particular line, at least, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do it, but this way I'm just going to set the global string of data transfer to nothing. So it'll only execute the one time. So that means when we boot the game, because there's nothing in data transfer, I can set it exactly where I want for the entrance of the dungeon. So that could be maybe here. But the next time we go do a battle, the position will have changed and he'll be repositioned. But it won't execute forever because I'll have nullified the data in that string. Yes, Wendy, they're that easy. So that should work. We can try to test it. So here we were jumping to the frame, you win, you lose. I believe we had a frame reset here. Let's see here. That's dropping the loot. Jump to frame, you win. So instead of doing that, we will jump back to the dungeon map. Very good. Now I want to stack the odds in our favor. So I'm going to increase the time and decrease the chances so that we can play it. And we'll give it a good run. So here's our cheesy hero in the cheesy world trying to get a battle. Now we're in a battle. Give him an attack. Oh, he dropped some generic loot. And we win. And you see it loaded right back where we were. So that's pretty good. So what else should we add? Does anybody have any suggestions of what else we should add? Let me see what we've got written here. We still need to do the zoom. That's an interesting comment from Scuffo about the shape of our hero. And that's cool. What do you guys want to add next? Any suggestions? Well, maybe we should add magic. Okay. Well, we've got a heal spell. Let's do a fire spell. Yeah, String Parser is an incredibly powerful tool. I use it pretty much in almost every project I work on. So certainly use it if you can. So we're going to clone our magic button here. Select them all. Space the objects horizontally. Oop. Name the new one Fire. Let's go Fire. Everyone loves a good fire spell. No, we're not adding a jump scare. Sorry, don't do jump scares. We'll go with the fire spell, though. Rename the button. And now we've got our elements. I've reordered them because this is the special button. I want it on the end. And the fire button needs to behave along with the health and attack button. So enabled when it's enabled and disabled when the timer is out. And for those of you that don't know, I sorted by just clicking on the top of the button. You can sort down to all the events only relative to that object. So there we go. Now, as you can see, I haven't commented very well here, which is not good. So let's put some comments in here real quick. Attack. Oh, I'm sorry, I forget. The internet does it like this now. So there we go. Insert a comment. Health. And that's, nope, so that's incorrect. So that's heal. And then a new comment. Hacksaw, or whatever it was. Attack. The loop heal there. The particle effects for our heal magic, which we could run it and see what that looks like. Ooh, magic. Add crates on the map. We'll do that next. What's going to be in the crates? Any suggestions? So I've engaged the fire button. Now the fire button will only work because I'm using button objects. You wouldn't in a commercial quality game. You'd want to design your own buttons, use your own graphics. But the cool thing about buttons is I can enable and disable them. So this will only work when they're enabled, when the ABS is filled. So we now need a fire particle. So we're going to create a new object. And we'll draw ourselves some garbagey fire. Red. Circle. Orange. Maybe some yellow. And then we could use a thick pen. A little less thick. Mind you, I'm no artist. I think that'll work. For a fire particle. Maybe we animate it a bit. Oops. A little too much. There we go. Loop, super fast. And there we go. There's our really bad fire particle. We don't need this fire particle at the beginning of the game, so we remove create at start. And then we have to do our object creation. So we're going to call it fire. What I'm doing is I'm creating a subroutine, or what we call a fast loop. Change it to fire. 20 times sounds great. Create the object. And we're going to create it near the monster. Right on his eyeball. So if I was to run it now, let's just see what happens. Golden the crates, got it. So it just puts some fire in his eyes, but nothing really else is happening. So we need to fix that. So the first thing we do is we need to kind of give the fire some movement. So maybe we could use a built-in movement and see what we can come up with. Maybe we go with a simple ellipse, which will require the click team movement object. Put that up here with our other objects that we're working with. And we're going to need, when we create the fire objects, which is here, I'm going to have to actually know the XY position. So I'm going to do this. And we're talking 500 by 300. Wonderful. So now we come here and we go to set object with the click team movement object. This line of code has already identified that the object I've created will be the one instance of this object. So it'll only execute whatever code against that particular object. So that's cool. So then we're going to go to, I believe it was simple ellipse. We're going to set the center X to 500. We're going to set the center Y. Center Y to 300. And then finally, we're going to set the current angle to random 360. Let's see what that gets us. Great question. Someone just asked what the Reactor is. The Reactor is a brand new membership program through ClickTeam that provides you a bunch of extra cool stuff like this stream. You can find more information about it here at patreon.com/ClickTeam. and you can see all the different features and benefits that are included therein. Different ranging tier levels, and this is just a way for us to afford providing extra value to our beloved users, you guys. All right, so let's launch some fire. Okay, so it's now rotating around him in a ellipse, but the objects are locked into the same angle, so we got to fix that. Let's make sure it's not because I executed the order of operations wrong. Boom, still got a problem. Let's work on it. Insert. Simple ellipse. We'll try randomizing that. Let's see if that does the trick. Windy, I use the vector movement consistently. I love that. There we go. Now we have very quickly an interesting little fire effect. And then we know that when we hit the bad guy, we have to change that animation. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put it here. Boom. And then finally, we'll have another event that says when animation is finished, his attack animation, we will then destroy all of these. So let's see if that works. So I'm just asked, is it one object per movement object? So the click team movement object controls any objects using these specific movements right here. So let's take a look. Here. And you can see that we have all of these right here. Circular, drag and drop, invaders, presentation. I believe drag and drop and invaders is not. But regular polygon, simple ellipse, sine wave, vector. Vector being my favorite. These are all manipulatable in the click team movement object. So you got spaceship, circular, drag, invaders, presentation, regular, all the way down to vector. And the way you identify object is you set the object. And so on this particular line where we did our fire spell, I create the fire object, and so that object becomes selected in the object selection routine, so that when I set this object, I am picking that particular one. However, if I didn't have that, then it would have picked all the fire objects and executed it on it. Executed whatever follows on it. So cool. So now we have a fire spell. We need a fire sound, of course. So let's go to our favorite place to get cheap free sounds. Here we go. Maybe we'll go with explosion. Well, you can use, yes, because the object selection can happen on the conditions, not the action. So indeed, if you use IDs to select a specific object, then set object in the movement object will be relative to whatever you isolated in the conditions. So I like this one. So fire spell. Go back into our objects here. And we'll say play sample. Browse. Fire spell. It works. Let's run it. There you go, fire spell. Fire spell complete. Of course, I didn't deduct any health, so we got to make sure we do that. So it's not complete. But we can do that here by saying, there you go, copy that event. Drop it on here. And because it's a fire spell, we're going to say 10. It's going to hurt a little bit more. It's going to sting. It's fire. Alright, so we wanted crates. So now we got to go back to our dungeon map. And we need to draw a crate. Crate. Maybe it's the ubiquitous chest. Everybody loves a good chest full of coinage. Oop, wrong tool. Okay, let's give it the 3-cent keyhole. And then we've got our chest in our little world here. Make sure we name these things. Keep forgetting to name things. Very important. Hero. Generic hero. That's his name. So there's a chest. Great. Now, one thing we have to keep in mind is that once we collect the chest, we can't come back and recollect it again. Back to the same issue we just discussed. So I'm going to create this animation. I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to give this chest a open state. There we go. So that's our open chest. And we're going to need to number the chests somehow so we could spread value. So we'll grab chests, put them a couple out here, and then I'm going to debug string because I want to make sure I'm doing it right. Just put that up here. Let's make it a color that we can see. No. Yes. Maybe bold. Wonderful. Maybe a little lighter. I guess that'll work. I'm probably not as young as you guys, so need a bigger string. Alright. Now, what we're going to do at start of frame is we're going to spread load by going to algebra values, spread value, 1 in algebra value A. Insert comments. I'm going to say debugging. And then I'm going to say if the mouse is over a chest, string, tell me what algebra value A is. And of course, algebra value A is pretty generic, so let's go here. Let's change that to chest ID, and let's run it. So that's chest ID 3, 2, so it's working, that's good. Why am I doing that? Because we're going to create another data structure in our global values. Chest data, or data chest. And what we'll do is we will do a loop when it's time to go to the next level. Fast loop, store chests. We're going to do it the number of chests we have. Okay, make sure that that loop's executed first. Oops. So I don't have to try to make sure I type it right. I'm going to copy that. Fast loop or subroutine. I'm going to say pick one. Pick chest at random. And then I'm going to, in my new value, my new string, I'm going to store this particular chest's chest ID. I'm going to give it a different type of delimiter. Then, excuse me, I'm going to store the direction, which is a value. Current direction value should do it. Then I'm going to add a new delimiter back to pipe. And then I'm going to remove this chest. So the reason I do that is I pick one at random. It's going to store the ID and its direction. And then I'm going to destroy that chest. So on the next loop, it picks up the next chest and so on. So when we get over to here, we're going to have a new start a frame event that will set the source string. Well, first let's get the tokenizer, delimit. Now you can store the delimiter. I always like to set my delimiters every time I do an operation. It's just habit. You don't have to do it. You could set delimiter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, and keep them in the object's memory. Me, out of habit, I always do it this way. Probably shouldn't, but you know, you develop habits. And then we get that string, which is data chest. So now we've got this, which is all good. And then I'm going to create a fast loop that says set chests. And we're going to do that for the number of delimiters that we have. So 3 chests means that we have 3 of these entries. So at the end of the line, you see that we have the 1 pipe delimiter that I'm comparing against. That means 3 chests, 3 settings. So on loop, set chests. Then we're going to set the source string again. We'll just drag this down. But this time we should probably cut it up. There's a bunch of ways we could do this. I'm trying to think of what the best way would be. And we're going to do it like this. We're going to grab a list object. Another favorite of mine. We'll just drop it on here so we can see what we're doing. And then we're going to insert new event. And I want to say add a line, and it's going to be get element, and it's going to be on loop index set chests. Sounds like my dog doesn't agree with my programming, but what does she know? And then I don't know if it's going to end up needing, I don't remember if the delimiters are 0 based. I don't believe they are. So we should probably put a +1 in here. Because remember, fast loops start at 0. So if I want to call 3 loops, I get 0, 1, 2 for the loop index. So I'm going to gamble from memory and say it's +1. Okay. So let's run it. And then I'm going to wait for it to fill the data chest. There we go. But it closed on me, so let's just, for giggles, do this. Deactivate this piece of code. Remove that. Run it again. Wait for that data. Come on, data. Big money, big money, big money. So the data transfer happened, but the data chest did not write. So that's interesting. Why is that? Store chests, on loop store chests. That should have worked. And here we are in the world of debugging. Did I not spell it correctly? I thought I copy-pasted. Store loop. Start loop, store chest, number of objects, time. So what we can do is we can then, just for giggles, say execute. We're multitasking the list object to test whether or not it's working, the loop. So we wait. We wait for it here to show the data transfer. Okay, look, it did execute, but it's not writing any of that data. And I think I know why. Because I didn't concatenate. So it should be this information plus. That's what I love about Fusion. It's so easy to find your bugs. Let's try it now. See you later, Wendy. Still didn't happen. Interesting. It is possible. I've noticed sometimes on fast loops that if you destroy an object while executing the line, it'll ignore this. So it's almost like the destroy happens first. And if that's the case, there's no data to pull. But even if that was the case, then it should... Oh, there it is. I'm putting it on the wrong line. Giggles. We figured it out. Come on. Execute. There we go. Now we've got our data line. So I'm going to copy that line so we can test it. And what I'm going to do is put that there and put the data in here for testing. We'll deactivate this line for now. And we run it. And it only put one line of our data in. So that's interesting. We have 3 pieces of data, but only put 1 in. Why is that? So let's take a look. We're setting chests to the number of delimiters, which should be more than 1. Let's make sure that's correct. List tokening, delimiters. Yeah, get number of delimiters. So that should be correct. So we can test that by grabbing that value and going to our test string that we have here. Debugging. Deactivate. And on this line here, where do we set it? There it is. We say insert. Change eligible string, and then compare the value. Everybody loves debugging. So this will tell us if it's running once or 3 times. Look, it's only executing once. So there seems to be an issue with my string. 1, 2, 3. Giggles, let's reverse that. Still the same issue. Didn't think it was it, but when you're debugging, you have to try everything. So we'll find another piece of data that will work. Let's see how many elements we get. Get number of elements. Let's see what that returns. Sometimes you have to skin a cat several ways. Alright, so that gives me 3 elements. So that's how we do it. And look, there's the data. Anyways. Parenting, it's fun. Alright, so now that we have that, now we got to set the states. Now one thing we should do before we do that is we should make it that the state changes for the chests. So chests And just for giggles, insert a comment, new events, collides with chests, direction of chests is that way. If so, direction of chests is changed. So let's run it. Need to turn this back on. Pardon me. So we opened a chest. We know that's chest 3. And it added the data on the end because I had preloaded the data. So let's back that out. Oh, better touch that chest before it's too late. Oh god, I'm never gonna make it. Okay. There you go. So there you go. It's set to 16. So let's take that bit of data out of the debugger. Let's drop it into here so we can test against it. Now that we have the data, we run it. And we can see that chest 3 is marked to 16. So now, new event. There's a bunch of ways you can do this. I'm just for giggles doing it this way. Compare to general values. Number of lines is greater than 0. Okay? If it is, we're going to set the delimiter now to this bad boy. And we're going to set the source string to get line 1. Okay? And then down here we say fast loops, start loop, set, or open, close. Copy that bad boy. We're going to run it once. Set a new event on loop, open, close. And then we're going to compare two general values again. If this is substring list tokenizer get elements, if element 2 is equal to 16, right? And if chest ID is equal to get element 1 minus the 0 on the end there, and we'll put that up front. Then direction, select direction, open the chest, and then we delete line 1. Think it should work. And it opened the wrong chest. So let's figure out why that happened. So first I got to turn my debug off so we can read what the chest value is. And this is chest 4 now. 3. That's interesting. That's odd. So we know that the algorithm worked right. It selected chest ID and matched it to 3, and it tested against the direction, and it opened the chest. The problem is now, for whatever reason, my spread value isn't working, and chest 3 is down here now. No matter. For giggles, though, I want to turn all this off. And now it's back to 3. So there's something going on in here to create that issue. And if that's the case, I wonder if it's as simple as executing the spread value on a different line. Intuition told me that was the case. So there you go. Chests. And then adding gold as simple as saying gold and add to gold some gold. Whatever that is. So, I think that's not too bad for our first inaugural hour of the Reactor streams. Does anyone have any last minute questions for me? Love to answer questions. I'm a big fan of questions. What? Anything? Keep in mind, this stream was Fusion 3 when? Excellent question. I'd like to know that too. Fusion 3, we're still aiming to have some news by the end of the year. So, stand by and be ready. It's I can tell you, though, that Fusion 3 will be worth the wait. It's going to be pretty amazing. I look forward to sharing more information with you as time moves forward. Any other questions? So, this particular stream was something that we did based on input on the Reactor. That's the cool thing about the Reactor. You join the Reactor and you let us know in the posts in the forum section for Reactor members and say, hey, I want to see this on the next stream. So you guys determine what the stream is. I'm going to polish up this code a little bit, and for those of you that are part of the Reactor, I'm going to post it as a patron-only post so that you can play around with it if it has any value. And guys, I really appreciate you watching. If you have any more questions, feel free to email me or message me. And it was really awesome streaming with you today. Here's the link to the Patreon should you decide to join. And if there's any other questions, maybe? Is there a German translation for Fusion? I do not believe so. We currently support English, French, and Japanese. We do have a forum area where we're discussing and looking for volunteers to do translations in various languages. So go to community.clickteam.com and say that you're interested in German. If we get enough people interested, then we'll spend some funds and time to get the German translation done. Great question. Anybody else? Well, on behalf of Click Team, I appreciate you guys showing up. And I'll stick around for a couple minutes during the commercial that follows at the end for the Reactor to answer any further questions. Guys, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and we'll see you again next week. We're going to do this every Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I'll be doing a stream next week, and then the week after, I'll actually be streaming live from a trade show, a game. It's called Games Something in Vegas. I'll push more information about it, but Jeff and I will both be there, and we'll stream live from the event. So thanks again, guys, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Eight, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.